You know what's always funny to me, Joe? And I get a kick out of this every single time. I get notifications on my watch and my phone that Twisted Pair Leaping Grain Society, as you're getting storms in there, is going
I am
live.
I am battling the rain here, Dave.
I can see that. Man, you went dark on me. But I get these notifications going live, and I just want to look at my watch and go, seriously?
Right.
Really? I mean, I know I'm going live. Anyways, welcome everybody. I'm Graybeard with Twisted Pair, and my lovely regular co-host and partner, Miss Ash Red, is actually in flight right now as we speak to Vegas for PCA, and this is going to be Leaping Grain's first appearance ever at PCA. So I'm excited about what she's going to do. I want to welcome everybody, and I want to thank my guest co-host Joe Galino, who is also a co-writer with me at the Whiskey Network magazine. Welcome, Joe. There, sitting in the dark, buddy.
Oh, thanks for having me.
And our guest of honor, and please forgive me if I butcher your name. Even though I just asked you, but when we were up camera, I mean not before we went live with how to pronounce your name, um, Manolo Santiago from Casa 1910. Did I get it right?
Sorry?
Did I get your name right, Manolo?
Actually, just my name, I can hear you, but I think
It,
so. It's okay. It's okay. No worries.
well,
It's
well,
very
well,
easy.
welcome to the Twisted Pair.
No, thank you so much for your invitation, and thank you so much for having us, Casa 1910, here and your show. Thank you so much.
Oh, it is an honor, and I'll be honest. I have not smoked any of your cigars. I've seen them, but with all the different cigars that are available, I have not smoked them, and I'm really excited about smoking this one. So this one I believe is what you call the revolutionary, and this is the Tierra Blanca. So that's one that I'm smoking, and I am going to be
Great.
pairing. I am pairing this with a classic bourbon, Blade and Bow. So I'm a whiskey drinker, and this is one of my favorites. So that's what my pairing is. Joe, what about you, brother?
Manolo, you're gonna have to help me with this. Is it Teniente Angela?
Teniente Angela is like a Lieutenant Angela.
Okay.
Yes, it's from the Soldadera edition. Uh, Actually, it's very funny for me because this live is the first interview with me with three person in the live stream with three different cigars. I have
Beautiful.
here from Cabri Edition, the As de Oro. Uh, Great Britain, you have this revolutionary edition, the 100% made with Mexican tobacco. And you, Joe, you have the Dominican and Mexico blend from Soldadera edition. We have three different lines, three different cigars, three different people. It's amazing.
That I love it. I love it. What a better way. I mean, this is the best way to actually be able to celebrate you and to celebrate your cigars, which actually having three different blends coming to you. So I'm excited about that. This is great. So tell us about let's just get started. Tell us a history about Casa 1910, how you got into it, and what's the story? What's the story? I know you probably tell the story all the time, but for our viewers, I really want to hear the story behind Casa 1910.
Oh, great. Well, I'm Manolo Santiago, co-founder for Casa 1910 and the blender for Casa 1910. And Casa 1910, Casa it's house in Spanish. Um, we take the name of Casa or house because in the old days, in the time of the Mexican Revolution, the business, the local business in the cities and the towns and the small towns, for example, they had tailor made the jacket, tailor, etc. Who take or have a business, local business, the name for the business, they put Casa plus the last name of the owner or the founder. So, for example, if I have uh, a jacket store, maybe I put Casa Santiago. No? It's the same way to take the name of Casa for Casa 1910.
Okay.
And 1910 is the year of the Mexican Revolution began properly. And for example, every cigar for us have a special history behind every cigar. For example, the Tierra Blanca, Greybeard, you have Tierra Blanca. And
Uh-huh.
Tierra Blanca is the second most important barrel in the Mexican Revolution, for example. Or Fear cigar, whose name is Cuchillo Parado. It's a small Robusto, 5 by 50. It's made in Mexico with Mexican tobaccos. But the Cuchillo Parado is the name for the small town for the first battle of the Mexican Revolution, and actually, it's our flagship cigar. It's our first cigar. So, the the history behind Casa 1910 is express, share the proper Mexican heritage from the Mexican Revolution, because the Mexican Revolution remarks the proper changes in the history of Mexico. Not just politician way, the economics and the way to administrate the country. So it's very important for us, the Mexican Revolution, and it's because we take all the things about the Mexican Revolution. For example, the female warriors for the Soldadera edition, the horses for Cavalry
Mm-hmm.
edition, and the barrels for Revolutionary edition. So this is a very short history behind Casa 1910, and all around Casa 1910, the colors, the logotype, the numbers, it's all about Mexico. The colors is a proper representation for the Mexican flag. The logotype, it's you can see here.
Yeah, that's an eagle holding on to grabbing a hold of a snake, right?
Yes, and our Mexican flag has a very big seal with a complete eagle taking a snake over the cactuses, over the nopales. So we take just the eagle claw, taking the snake over the nopales, because in Mexico it's totally banned to use the proper colors of the flag for products, and the Mexican seal is because we don't use the red, for example. We use green, white, and orange, not
Mm-hmm.
not red. And it's because we don't use the proper seal of the Mexican flag, because it's
Right.
totally banned in Mexico.
Now I see Joe. Joe's got on his shirt what looks like
I see.
what you just described to us. Very cool.
Actually,
So
yes.
Joe's representing. I mean, a lot better than me. I mean, I'm just wearing a boring shirt. So it's very fascinating.
Let me make a proper zoom for the
Oh, there
logotype.
you go.
Oh, that is sweet. Oh
There you
man.
go.
If you see, it's the eagle claw. It's a proper analogy or representation for the human hand taking
Hmm.
the cigar, and the rest of the body of the snake is the smoke for the cigar.
I the imagery on that, and I love how you have it tied back into the history of the the revolution, with each of the different fighters during the revolution, the Mexican Revolutionary War. It is beautiful, and for me, that's the story behind what we do here. The cigars are one thing, community and the culture behind it is the next thing, and the story is what helps support that. At least the way I look at it.
Of course, it's very important for us uh, to make a proper balance between three important columns. The first column is good looking cigar, good looking packaging. It's because
Hmm.
we invested a lot of time for development, a very beautiful box, beautiful drinks, beautiful labels, beautiful everything about Casa 1910. The second column, very important, is the storytelling behind every cigar. Every cigar need to tell a history, but the three column it's not the less important. It's the most important. Good cigars.
I gotta say, and this is a beautiful cigar. I'm sitting there looking at the wrapper. It's a beautiful wrapper. It's very subtle on the toothiness of it. It's got some nice veins in there that that tells me that you've got really good. Wh- what I find is interesting. Okay, so Sumatra is one of my favorite rappers, hands down, one of my favorite rappers. Uh, Big fan of the Nicaraguan Sumatra, big fan of the Ecuadorian, with its sweetie fruit notes, big fan of the Dominican and those hay notes. And I'm a big fan of the Connecticut shade blend, which comes from the Sumatra as a hybrid of the Sumatra. I've never heard of a Mexican Sumatra, so I'm curious. I mean, we all hear about the San Andreas wrapper, very well known history behind it. Tell us a little bit about how you came up with utilizing the Mexican Puro and coming up with the Mexican Sumatra. Where's the region? Tell us a little bit about that.
Of course, it's a very interesting question. Actually, thank you for that. Um, we released the brand in 2021 in the PCA with
Okay.
just one cigar. We have our booth, 10 by 10, small, cozy, but it's very interesting because the work behind the release the brand it's about 8 years before they release the brand, because personally I need to go to San Andres to make a proper research, to make a proper looking about the proper soil, about the perfect seed for that kind of soil. Um, a lot a, a lot of information about the terroir in Veracruz.
Mm-hmm.
So when I make up different experiments with the Mexican tobaccos, for example, the Negro Jaltepec, the Negro San Andres, or the Habano growing in Mexico, and Criollo, and many seeds, I make a proper experimentation with a Sumatra seed, but grown in Mexico, and the goal, the result, it's very interesting. The flavor, the aromas, and well, the final result is very interesting, and it's because when I make the cuchillo parado, the robusto, I take Negro San Andres for the filler, for the binder, with 5 years aged, but the wrapper, I take the option to don't don't use the Negro San Andres, because you can imagine in PCA for the attendees is very interesting to go when the people go to our booth to check our cigar, one cigar. And where are you from? We are from Mexico. Ah, Mexican brand. Okay, show me your cigars. Well, I have one, the Robusto. Okay, all Mexican or it's a blend? All Mexican tobacco. Okay, um, Negro San Andres wrapper. No, Sumatra wrapper, Mexican Sumatra wrapper. And why you use Sumatra if you have an amazing Negro San Andres? because the Negro San Andres is the most regular cigar in the market for the wrapper or the binder. And it's because I use the Sumatra to think out of the box and about the blend, the proper blend in the filler and the binder fits perfect with the Sumatra. And
I
actually, I make a lot of experiments with Negro San Andres. I make experiments with Criollos and other kind of wrappers. And really, I don't like and I don't like the final the result for this kind of cigar. Is because I take the Sumatra, and we are very careful farmers for the Sumatra because it's very um, elegant. It's very tight. It's very um, it's easy to make mistakes with this kind of wrapper,
mhm.
and it's because it's very interesting to use that kind of wrapper, and is the history behind the Sumatra. And the Tierra Blanca you have, it's all Negro San Andres. Fillers, binders, and wrapper, all Negro San Andres. Actually, all tobaccos for that cigar, it's growing, it's harvested and growing in the same farm, but in different seasons. For example, the leaves of Seco and Ligeros we're growing that tobacco in the dry season, and the bolado, the binder, and the wrapper, it's growing in the raining season. Change everything in the flavors, and actually the
Yeah.
fermentation and the curing process it's totally different between the kind of leaves, but it's interesting. One type of seed, what type of leaf in different seasons change the game in the cigar, change the flavors, change the sensations. And it's because
What
I'm really a little bit crazy with the blends and the harvesting and the fermentation. It's very interesting.
I am thoroughly enjoying this, and I'm so glad that you mentioned because we've been teaching in the show that it's not just the seed, but it's the season, it's the terroir of where it's grown, and when I was coming into this, with this being being the Sumatra, I was expecting I was expecting some of the earthy notes that I'm getting. Had no idea what some of those subtle notes, like with an Ecuadorian Sumatra, you get some of the subtle fruity notes because of the terroir, with all of the banana plantations that surround all of the tobacco farms there. I this is I can't quite put my note on it, place it just yet. It's a very much deeper, richer, earthy note that I'm getting, as opposed to the light or like the dusty gravel or the hay type notes that you might get coming from Dominican. This is very deep and very rich, so kind of tells me that the soil. That the soil that maybe that soil that the wrapper is that where your farms are, or that you're getting this is just a very very rich soil with nutrients on it, and you saying that the wrapper that it comes from the rainy season makes sense. Now, where you threw me on this, I was not expecting this at all, is that you said it's the Valero priming.
Sorry again.
You said it's the Valero priming, so it's the Valero it's not the Viso, not the Seco, not the Ligeros, but it's the Valero priming that the leaf is. And I've never seen that before on that. So if I was wearing a hat, I'd say hats off to you on this blend. I'm enjoying this. I'm only, and I haven't even paired it with my drink yet, but you
mine's,
could
mine's pairing very well with the rain.
pairing very well with the rain. Okay, good.
So on this one, I'm getting like nice like vanilla and leather, like mixed together. Is that what you would typically get on this one, Manolo? Yeah.
Yes, actually, Teniente Angela or Lieutenant Angela, it's very interesting because every edition for Casa 1910 make a proper homage or tribute for different things. The Soldadera edition, we make a proper homage or proper tribute for the female warriors in the Mexican Revolution. For example, Lieutenant Angela or Teniente Angela, actually she was a spy for the army from Emiliano Zapata. And for my side, uh, I take the proper notes for the Dominican tobaccos, the
Hmm.
gentle, the elegance, the nuts, the woods, the leather, to make a proper fit with the Mexican tobacco. For example, the proper blend for Lieutenant Angela, it's Habano from Ecuador for the wrapper.
Okay.
The filler is a little bit Nicaragua and Dominican Republic, but the binder, it's two different binders together. It's Negro San Andres and Dominican binder. Make a proper dancing. I talk about the dancing because you can feel a lot of uh, hints for the Mexican tobacco, but dancing between and the Dominican tobacco and the flavors and strength for the Nicaraguan tobaccos. But the principal goal in every cigar for Casa 1910, blend or not, is to make a proper highlight to the Mexican tobacco, to flavor or aroma or sensations. Is because I make a proper different blends. The Soldadera edition is Dominican and Mexican. The Caber edition is Nicaragua and Mexico. The Revolutionary, 100% Mexico. And for example, in Caber edition, I take the proper strength and the minerality and the volcanic terroir for Nicaragua, and I make a proper bridge between the Nicaraguan tobacco and Mexican tobacco to put a little bit sweetness and the organic profile and the herb profile and the
Hmm.
like animal profile for the Mexican tobacco between the Nicaragua. But for Soldadera, it's like elegant. It's and I love that cigar because that cigar have a proper transitions in three parts, and
Yep.
it's interesting. The first part it's gentle, it's okay. I'm here. My name is Lieutenant Angela. The second third, it's more like a this is my flavor, this is my aroma, and the last part it's flavor, aroma, sensation, and strength. It's very
It,
interesting.
Yeah,
it,
I like how you describe it as elegant because the bold flavors are there, and then they just kind of balance out, mellow out, and just kind of become like this nice, elegant, smooth flavor as it glides across the palate. Very good
I,
blend.
I like how you
Yeah.
described it, because it's almost like you're describing meeting it, as you meet a woman. You first meet her, and she's kind of shy, wants waiting to get to know you. Then as a little bit of time goes by, she gets to know you. She comes, you're starting to see a little bit more of her personality, and she's kind of opening up a little bit more. And I'm trying to be very careful of how I tiptoe around this, that way I don't offend any of our female viewers. But then you get to the point where you guys are really meshing, and you're seeing all of the beauty of her strength and her personality as she's really coming out and let you know. Perfect analogy on that. I love it.
And I'm pairing Angela with Angel's Envy, the
Oh,
cast strength.
great.
So this is a port finished cast strength bourbon, and with the vanilla and the leather notes going on here, are pairing beautifully with that nice little port I'm getting
And
on this
and
bourbon.
and I gotta say now, the uneven burning is not due to construction in here. The uneven burning on this is due because I've got a breeze coming in from this way. Um, and I tell people you will very rarely ever see uneven burning that's a construction problem. Construction problems will show other way. But look at that beautiful. I mean, it's just. I mean, we've got a nice even burn. You've got a nice even burn on this.
Yeah, and I'm in
This
the
is.
middle of a monsoon over here, and it's still, look at that.
I'm going to say right off the bat, and I'm only into the first third, that viewers, if you are not familiar with Casa 1910, please go out and visit them. Got a beautiful website that I was looking at earlier on that gives a description. And what I really want to commend you on your website is that you're giving us the blend. I don't see you trying to hide the blend by saying, okay, this is a Maduro wrapper. You're not trying to tell us hide what you're giving us by telling us, okay, this is medium bodied or full bodied. You're being truthful and honest in that, and I appreciate that because for me, body means what it is, the viscosity of the smoke, and I love you're being honest with what I say honest in the notes because I went back and looked at the notes on this one. It was like, okay, you're describing exactly what I'm getting in the first third, where it's very earthy and very woodsy. That deep notes on it. So we don't see that a lot from cigar blenders, and I don't know why that is.
Well, for my side, um, for example, I'm actually I'm attorney, but I prefer to be happy and share the happiness, and it is because I go to the spirit business and the tobacco business 100% of my time and of my life. I'm from Guadalajara, Jalisco, the land of tequila, of course.
Yes.
And when I studied in the university in Mexico, I work in the weekends in the bar. So every weekend I falling in love more about the cocktails, about the spirits, about the actually the proper service for the customers, for the attendees. And in the holidays, in the vacations, I take the travels to the source from the red wine from Mexico, the tequila, the red wine in Argentina. But the most important
Oh,
part,
Argentina and Malbecs are one of my favorites.
I know it's
Mm,
beautiful, and
beautiful.
my proper expertise is I'm sommelier in wine. I'm expert of tequila. I'm mastered in habanos in the Cuban cigars. I'm a master cigar sommelier, but and I have a different certificates. But for me, the certificate at the end of the day, it's just a piece of paper.
Yep.
If you don't go to the source to check how is the harvest process, how is the fermentation, how is the curing process, the aging process, the rolling. So you need to take dust in your boots. You need to take dust in your nails. And it's because I take a lot of my time in Cuba, in Nicaragua, in Dominican Republic, in Mexico, in Veracruz, in Scotland about the Scotch whiskey. And and for my side, I need to share experience. I don't share cigars. I share experience. For
Yes.
example, with my blends and the proper information about the cigars, I need to make easy to every cigar smoker how what you can find in my cigar, what you can find in the cigar in Casa 1910. It's not rocket science. The cut light is just for enjoy, just for have a good experience, just have a good moment. And if you have a good story behind the cigar and good moment, good company like you guys, it's everything. It's
I,
the proper way to enjoy a cigar.
100% agree. And you brought out so many great points. Like yourself, I'm a wine sommelier. I'm a spirit sommelier. And I'm a cigar sommelier through IACS, and I'm going to be working on my master's next year. And 100% agree. What we try to show is if you want to take your pairings to that next level, as my buddy Joe here says, that next level, you've got, it helps out if you learn the components, learn what the blend is, learn what the tobacco is, learn the environment, learn the different terroirs, the soils that you can, and you can study that. I mean, it's better if you can go there and study that, but you can study that on, online or by, tuning into our show. And you can also, learn what goes into the spirit. A bourbon. This is a standard bourbon, so it's not a high rye. What goes into like what Joe is drinking. What's the differences between your different types of tequilas, and what is it that it makes it 100% agave tequila? Because 100% agave tequila is much different than say a Texas tequila, where I'm located. I'm located in Dallas, Texas,
Okay.
and a tequila is much different than say a Sotol, which are related plants. And understanding those, then you can get into understanding how the pairings go. So I really like that you brought all that out.
And I got to point out on this foot smoke odor that I'm getting on this. It's pretty unique. I'm getting all at the same time like a creamy vanilla over cocoa and some like fruitiness, all in the foot smoke odor, which I've never experienced on a cigar. That's pretty cool. And
Great.
on all your certifications, I'm a master drinker and a master smoker. Just want to point that out.
I do want to say I got to give my boy Joe some credit. So Joe and I both write for the Whiskey Network magazine. I write about whiskey, and Joe is the primary cigar pairing.
Okay,
Now
great.
when we first met, his pairings were his pairings were that like you would see in other magazines, and I'm not going to mention the names of the other magazines, but the three of us would probably look at that and go no. Uh-uh. Joe has since stepped up his game, and I would put his cigar pairing articles up against anybody's.
Thank you,
And
Joe.
now he writes cigar reviews for me, and has done a phenomenal job. So I trust this guy's palate.
Thank you, sir. Master
Amazing.
drinker, master smoker.
Master writer.
Yeah, there you go.
Amazing.
So what? How did you get into cigars? I mean, how did you get into cigars, and how did that lead you up into founding your own cigar line?
Well, when I go to study the sommelier certificate in La Rioja in Spain, well, you don't believe it, but I taste the cigarettes two times in my life, two times, and I take the flavor, the aromas, the sensations, and I say, what is this tobacco, this flavor, this sensation is garbage. I don't like this kind of sensations. And I take so many cigars before the properly way to smoke cigar. And with my grandfather and in a couple of parties, I taste the cigar. I take a Cuban cigar, and I say, "Oh, this is good. This is good sensation. This is good flavor. This is good aroma." But in that time, I'm totally focused in the wines and spirits. But when I go to Spain to study the red wine sommelier, one teacher In one morning, in Sunday, I remember it's a Sunday, we take a proper cup of coffee, and he gave me Hoyo de Monterrey picture number two from
Mm-hmm. Mm.
it's a Robusto. Mild, beautiful, elegant, a lot of notes, cedar wood, a little bit spicy at the end, but amazing. And he told me how to cook properly, how to smoke properly, how to enjoy the smoke, how to enjoy the coffee between the cigar. And, and I changed my mind totally. And I say, okay, I need to learn more about cigars, about this kind of tobacco, because the cigarettes is totally other thing. I need to learn more about cigars. And he told me, if you like the cigar industry, the cigar culture, you need to go to the source. You are from Mexico. You come to Spain to learn about the the wines, and then you go to Scotland to learn about the whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
Why you don't go to Cuba, to Veracruz and Nicaragua, to the proper source for tobaccos and learn about the tobacco? And he put contact me with a lot of people in Cuba, with the producers, with the farmers, with habanos, and I take a lot of small learning in the farms, in the factories, in the acopio beneficio, when that people make the proper curing process, the fermentation, the moja, and something. And I make a lot of friends there. And actually, in that time, I start with a work with a Cuban rum. And actually, I work a lot in the Cuban rum industry to export from Cuba to Mexico, a couple of brands. And and beside, I take more knowledge in the tobacco industry from Cuba. And in one time, the people from Habanos in Mexico offer me a job in the marketing area and brand ambassador area. I take the chance because it's the perfect way to learn more. Working in that area, working
Mm-hmm.
in the tobacco industry to learn more. And I take all opportunities to learn, to research more. And in the meantime, I go to Veracruz to make a proper research in the soil, in the different producers, different farmers, and I was make a lot of experiments in that time. But in one day, a very special day, a people from the Swiss community in Mexico, with my business partners, the other co-founders, and my friends Serge Bolach and Jamie Barr, uh, they invite me to make a proper tasting with the Swiss community. And when that tasting is finished, we take a seat and we talk about the Mexican tobacco industry, and we talk about why not Mexico has a proper cigar brand in every country in the world. And I say, well, right now the core business in Mexico, it's 100 or maybe the 90%, it's selling raw material. It's no make a proper cigars. A lot of cigars in Dominican Republic, in Honduras, in Nicaragua, take the Mexican tobacco and put a little bit in the filler, but more in the binder and wrapper. And Jamie asking me, but in Mexico can we can make a proper cigar brand with 100% made with Mexican tobacco? And I say, yes, of course. We have some experiments and we talk about more. And one day in the dinner, we take the proper decision to make a proper brand to Mexico. And we have a lot of inspiration. For example, one of our inspiration is the Casa to Rent for to rent family the bigger producer of Mexican tobacco, the bigger
Yep.
producer, amazing cigars from Mexico, or Santa Clara, for example, and that both families, it's a proper inspiration to make a Casa 1910, and it's because our goal is to see in the main future more Mexican cigars in the stores around the world because we have a very special tobacco. We have a lot of history in the tobacco industry. We need more Mexican brands in the trade shows, in the PCA, in the TPEs, in the stores, in the tables, in the bars, in the cigars, in the cigar clubs. We need more Mexican brands. And if we can make a proper bridge between the small producers to go to other countries, this is our job.
I
So there's
100%
a gap
agree.
there.
Yeah. How many how
Yep.
many how many Mexican cigar producers are there?
Big producers, well, medium to big producers, maybe we are five, five cigar producers, but we have a lot of small brands. But this is very local, consumption. It's very local selling. So we need to export more cigars.
And,
What
and
one?
your cigars are being produced, you said, in Veracruz.
Yes, in
Okay.
San Andres Tuxtla,
So
Veracruz.
Okay.
that's along the coast, right? From my understanding,
It's near to the coast.
near the coast.
It's very near to the coast. Maybe if you take the highway to the coast in 1 hour from the
Okay.
farms and from the factory, it's 1 hour to the coast. It's a very special valley in Mexico.
Now I'm getting that transition to that wood earthy note as I'm approaching the second third here.
I'm getting a transition here in the middle that I started noticing as I was coming into the second third. That's more of a tea, kind of like a black tea. You know, where it's got those definitely floral tea notes, but I equate it to a black tea because you're getting a little. You know how the black tea has a little bit more of a bitterness, whereas a green tea has a little bit more of a hay type note to it. And I'm definitely getting that. And it's interesting because I'm also getting a little bit of cocoa, not chocolate, but a little bit of cocoa notes mixed in with that black tea, and very, very nice. Um, one one of one of our good friends here in the Dallas Fort Worth area, Edgar Hoyle, he does a lot of Mexican. His line is called OSAC, one shot, one kill, and he's from Mexico. He does a lot of Mexican tobacco, and he partners up with Noel Rojas, he's Cuban, but his factory is in which he just opened recently, is out of Nicaragua down in Esteli, and so both those two will both collaborate quite a bit. And Edgar has also collaborated with Sebastian Depoc, who is Cavalier Genevieve, which is Honduran. So, you know, in the boutique community, as you well aware know, we're seeing a lot of collaboration between the different blenders and the different lines. Um, and this is just kind of like a random question, but have you ever thought about collaborating with some of the others or have you collaborated with any of the others? And if so, what are they and how can we find them? Because I want to get more of these for sure. Um, but yeah, what little bit on your thoughts around all of that when the boutique, because boutique, we got to support each other, right?
Yes, and actually, is one part of I totally love in the cigar industry the collaborations and every travel to Nicaragua, to Dominican Republic, and other countries with tobacco producers, I learn more every time, every day. I learn more and more. When I go, we produce, for example, the Soldadera edition with Hostos Quesada in Tabacalera La Isla in Dominican Republic. And when I go to make the blends and I go to make the proper research to Dominican tobaccos to our blends, I learn a lot. I learned a lot, but every new cigar, it's a proper collaboration between the the principal uh, director of production
Hmm.
in Tabacalera La Isla, for example, Nostos Quesada. Ostos has a very beautiful palate and an amazing nose. And
Yes.
he told me, "Oh, maybe this cigar is not clean. You need to make a little bit change. You need to make that way, not this way," and it's perfect to me because I learn more. And actually, I work right now in a new collaboration with others, not just factories, with others master blenders, because it's very interesting for us of Casa 1910 and for me, Manolo Santiago, to learn about the process for the blending for other blenders, other master blenders, and it is because actually we work in the next releases. It's a proper collaboration between other master blenders. It's very interesting for me.
Let's talk about PCA. I know that you're leaving for PCA bright and early in the morning, uh, and uh, a lot of cigar vendors, blenders, come up with a blend specifically for PCA that they release at PCA. A lot of times we see a lot of limited editions. Um, what can we expect to see from you at PCA coming up this weekend?
Well, first of all, we actually the Soldadera edition is very brand new because we present in TPE the Soldadera edition, and
Hmm.
we need to present to the PCA community the proper Soldadera edition. And actually, we have a very special release. It's not a new blend. Uh, I cannot tell a lot, but we
I
present
understood.
we present a very special cigar for me because I give you a little hints for the new release because
Beautiful.
um, for my side I love the evolution the cigar in the warehouse in the aging, and for my side the cigars is like a wine, but the wine has a proper evolution,
Hmm.
it's young and in one time is the best time for consumption. The cigar maybe has two different uh, breaking points to perfect consumption and in the meantime. So we present a proper perfect evolution cigar for perfect time for consumption with a proper aging process, and it's beautiful release. And actually we have a very short number for that kind of boxes, but it's a very interesting release. And actually it's the first time when I talk about the release for Casa 1910 in PCA, but it's totally secret. It's very
well,
great.
well, I promise we won't break any news beyond what's already been broken here, on the show. And I'm definitely going to reach out to my people that are going to PCA and say, hey, you got to bring me back some of these.
I
Uh,
know, and actually, properly the releases for Casa 1910, we show the releases in the Casa 1910 experience, in the proper party, in the proper event in Mexico, with the customers from US and the customers in Europe. Uh, they come to Mexico and we show the new releases. For example, the Soldadera edition, we showed the new line in that event with the attendees. Not properly in the TPE. The TPE is as a commercial way, but
Hmm.
in the Casa 1910 experience, the first time you can smoke the new line, it's in the 1910 experience.
Very, very good, very good. What do we see coming up in? We're halfway through 2023. What can we see coming from Casa 1910 and you in 2024?
Well, right now, the next releases, it's in Casa 1910, we show the collaboration with other master blenders and a very special aging tobaccos with a very special process. This is a little hit. Um, I love the blends, the pairings with tequila. And it's of course, for example, the Cuchillo Parado, the perfect pairing, it's a reposado tequila. Not all reposados tequilas. It's just a few. And the Tierra Blanca, I love the Tierra Blanca with añejos tequila and extrañejos tequilas. And the
Mm.
new releases from Casa 1910, it's a very special process of aging with this special spirit for me. And other release, and I can tell about the new release, is the third cigar for the Revolutionary Edition, because we have three cigars in Soldado Edition, three cigars in Cabaret Edition, and right now we have just two cigars in Revolutionary Edition. And in Casa 1910 Experience, we presented the tier one from the Revolutionary Edition, made in Mexico, made by hand, with 100% Mexican tobaccos, but a lot of strength. I put a lot of strength in that cigar. It's very interesting.
So when you're not smoking Casa 1910, what are you smoking?
Well, actually, I love to experiment with all terroirs and all kind of blends. And actually, um, I'm very happy because PCA is this weekend, and when I back to Mexico, I have a lot of new releases, and actually I take my task, my homework, to taste new stuff, to taste new cigars, and of course, every time I have my favorites to smoke every time, but right now I have a lot of homework to do, and it's because I have a lot of new cigars to taste, and I make notes, tasting notes, and I make a proper analysis in the new cigars for me, because it's my job to taste the new cigars, to taste new sensations from a palate. Is a way to make a proper research.
We have a tough job, don't we, Manola? I mean, I in my paying job, in IT, so that's what pays the bills. They all tease me because they know that this is what I do outside of it, and they're like, man. I want to have a job like that where you actually your job is to smoke cigars, drink wines, drink spirits, and sit down and analyze them and go through it. It's like, yep, it's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it.
I know, but it's not easy. Actually, it's not easy.
No, it's not. It's not.
Now, for example, when I make a blend, actually I take a couple of weeks before to not smoke nothing. I don't smoke nothing 2 weeks before the blending process, and maybe 1 week after, because when I make a blend, I taste in the grado puro, in the pure grade, just one kind of leaf.
Hmm.
I make a small cigar and I taste it. And sometimes I taste very awful tobaccos, unfermented, or maybe with a little mistakes in the fermentation or the aging, and actually that kind of tobaccos burn my palate, and it's very hard to healing the palate. It's very fast, but it's awful because if I hit and burn my palate, I cannot make a proper blending process. It's because
Right.
I need to make my time, I need to clean my palate. And actually, for example, PCA, the trade shows, when I back to PCA, I don't smoke for a couple of weeks because every day maybe I smoke 15 or 20 cigars per day. It's a lot of cigars.
It
And
is.
it's totally destroyed my palate and my nose. And I
Have
need
you
to
tried
rest.
experimenting with any Brazilian tobacco?
Of course. Actually, in the Soldadera edition, I have one cigar de La Coronela. It's a majestuoso shape. It's a 58 of ring gauge and 5.5 inch for length. It's medium to full. And I made that cigar with Habano Ecuador for wrapper, Brazilian Arapiraca in the binder,
Yeah,
and Mexican and Dominican tobaccos in the filler.
Oh,
And
nice.
wow.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah,
actually, that cigar it's a very small production. It's a limited production because the type of the Brazilian Arabiaca and the type of Mexican tobacco, it's very that kind of tobaccos. It's very hard to processing, and it's because we just produce 10,000 cigars per year for that cigar, but it's amazing for me. It's amazing shape, amazing transitions, very powerful for the notes, very um, easy to understand, but it's complex and
yeah.
in the same time. It's very interesting. And actually, I made that cigar for a special pairing with cognac because it's
I
complex,
can see
needs
that.
cognac.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I can see that, especially with the Arapiaca leaf. You know, with its strong black black fruit notes that you get out of that one would pair beautifully with the cognac. You know, because the cognac, it originates from grapes. Typically originates from a grape, and so I could see that that would be a beautiful, beautiful pairing. I want you're making my palate salivatate just with all of the different what you're talking about. I'm like going, I know what you're preaching here, brother, and I want to go and try this. You've got a fan.
Beautiful creamy leather notes
And
on
and,
this
and
cigar now.
I got to say, I can
Great.
see you say that where this cigar pairs really well with the añejo, and the extra añejo tequilas. This has been pairing beautifully with this bourbon. What's really interesting is when I go from cigar to the bourbon, it is bringing out the red cherries, not the black cherries, but the red cherries that really is reminiscent of the Americano type cherry notes out of the bourbon, which is typically you only pick up if you're really focusing and paying attention, especially on if you retro the bourbon on it, and it just brings it forward. It's a beautiful pairing, this right here. So thank you for this. I mean, as yes, Joe and I are both on the industry side, on the media side through reviews and everything. But as a consumer, I am thoroughly enjoying this
Yeah,
as well.
Thank you so
the
much. It's
leather,
amazing.
so the creamy leathery notes on this cigar are just enhancing those port flavors of this Angel's Envy cast strength. It's amazing.
Joe, I've got a task for you, brother.
Mm.
Between you or I, we're going to have to pick up some more of these and publish a review on this because, well, one of the things that we want to do with Leap and Grain, yeah, we focus on the pairings, primarily. My partner Ash Red, she's not, she's on her way to PCA right now. In fact, she just mentioned that she was about to board her plane. She focuses on beers, on all different kinds of beers and coffees and teas. Our other partner that we have, his name is Matt. he's a classically trained chef, so he handles all of the food pairings, and where
Okay.
I focus on the spirits and the wines and the pairings. And all of us have been smoking cigars for years. I've been smoking cigars for 3 decades now. Uh, as long as one of my partners has been alive, you know, so he's a little bit on the younger side. In food pairings are really challenging to do because you've got so much complexity. All of the complexity of the notes of the food and all of the complexity notes of the cigar. And it's really a challenge of being able to marry those up in a true complementary or a contrast type pairing. What is a food pairing that you typically like to go to?
Well, actually, I love smoke and eat. It's beautiful, but for, for me, depends about the complexity of the cigar.
Hmm.
If the cigar is very complex, I prefer very easy third element. I talk about the third element for the food. For my side, the first element is the cigar, the second element is the drink, and the third element is the food. And
Hmm.
for example, the basic is chocolate between 50% to 70% at least,
Okay.
maximum percent of cacao in the chocolate. And I love and nuts without salt. For example, a toasted nuts. It's very easy. It's like a snack. It's like a snack.
Yep.
Uh, I don't like too much a very sweet chocolate with a lot of milk, a lot of fat, or yeah, the commercial chocolate. I don't like too much with the cigar because totally kill the flavors and the sensation of cigars.
Yep.
If the chocolate it's very sweet, I prefer medium and medium 50% or 60%. It's very great to pair with cigars. But about the desserts, for example, I love the grill. I love my Weber grill, and I make a brownie with the grill with marshmallows and almonds and chocolate in the with the charcoal. It's very interesting flavors. With cigar, it's amazing. It's amazing. Well, depends the cigar, but it's amazing
Yeah.
pairing.
Maybe something with like a nice mole sauce,
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
like a
Oh
chocolate
yeah.
mole
Yeah.
sauce. Yeah. And
Yeah.
Cigar.
you're in Mexico City right now, correct?
Yes.
So you're in the best place for some nice street tacos. Maybe get over to Torta Gigante. I don't know if you're familiar with that place. That's one of my favorite places to go to in Mexico City.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Well,
I've never been to Mexico City. Actually, I've never been outside of the United States. Although next year I plan to do quite a bit of traveling and want to go to the Dominican Republic, go to Nicaragua, and visit some of the factories there, and plan to go to Mexico as well, just to immerse myself in all of the culture there. Uh, it's funny that you mentioned street tacos because we got challenged by Albert Soneras, who's the VP at for Rojas, and we had Noel and Albert on the show, and Albert challenged us to a pairing. Now his pairing was with vodka, and I was like, okay, vodka's kind of hard to pair with because vodka, true pure vodka has no notes to it. But
yes,
his
maybe with espresso martini with vodka, it's very great. But
Oh yeah, yeah. Now I've done a couple of different martinis pairings with it, but his challenge to us was with the Rojas Unfinished Business, which is a great cigar. with a chicken fajita and Tito's vodka. And we stepped up to it because our motto is explore the pairings, and so I'm not going to back down to any challenge. And I was actually blown away by it. And chicken for us is a hard pairing to do because most times when you do the chicken, you got a lot of the fats in. And you had mentioned the fats. The fats have a tendency just to overpower the cigar, and it'll bring out some notes, some unexpected notes out of the cigar, or just completely bland the cigar out. But this particular way, and we did black beans with it as well, and it was just it's down in my books as one of my favorite full food, full three-tier, three-stage pairings like what you were just talking about with it. But we did it all at once, cigar to food to drink, drink to food to cigar, and vice versa. It was a lot of fun.
Yes. Well, for my side, the proper enemies for the cigar, for example, for the food, it's the spicy, the spiciness, very very hot, spicy, um, fat, citric, a lot of citric, like a lemon
Mm.
juice. It's very hard to make a good pairing. But remember, maybe you don't need to make a proper pairing. For example, if you go to Cuba, to La Bodeguita del Medio, a very beautiful restaurant, very beautiful bar, you need to take a cigar with your mojito cubano. The
Oh, okay,
mojito
yeah.
cubano, it's rum, lemon, and it's mint and club soda, and it's very citric and very with the soda. It's very harsh to the palate with cigar. But if you go to Cuba to that kind of bar with the cigar and the music and the mojito, it's very great. It's great. It's not a
Yeah.
pairing. It's not a proper pairing, but it's a cultural and it's the for the moment, and the depends the moment.
Now,
I think.
in Mexican culture, from my understanding, when you're making the salsa, if the spicier the salsa, they say the angrier the chef was, right? So, so I'm going to say this cigar that nobody was angry in the making of this cigar because there's just no spice. It's just very elegant, creamy, nice leathery notes. You get that vanilla starts coming in, then those nice wood notes start coming in. Very delicious cigar.
Great.
I now that I'm getting down into the final third, it's really interesting. And what you were talking about, where a lot of times we expect when you get to the end of the cigar, it to get spicy, or to get hot. And I tell a lot of people that if your cigar is getting hot at the final third, purge it out because that means that the cherry is burning a little bit hotter. Your oils are starting to burn a little bit more. So to purge it, because you could take a cigar all the way down to the nub, and if you're purging it out, if it gets that way, in a really good blend, it's not going to get hot at that end. But you can pick up some peppery notes, especially if it's an Ecuadorian. Yeah, I mean not Ecuadorian, a Nicaraguan, a Condego or an Esteli or even an Ometepe. With this one here, I'm getting more floral notes. I'm getting a lot of floral notes.
Getting a little floral on this one as well.
Yeah, and it's really not. It's really nice. Even on the retro, a little bit of mint or a little bit, maybe a little bit of a eucalyptus, which is very minty
It's a little
type.
bit fresh. It's a little bit
Yes,
fresh.
and I want to say a little bit of lavender.
Okay.
A little bit of lavender in the floral notes. Right, that sweet, but yet, to use your word, elegant, type,
Yeah.
right at the first of the tip of the tongue, but at the back of it and on the retros where it's getting to be that, a little bit more of that tingly type, minty type eucalyptus that you would expect on it. Very interesting balance. I was not expecting that at all.
Yeah,
It
very,
was,
very, very. I like that description of fresh, smoking this cigar. it's very elegant and refreshing.
This,
You know,
this cigar, this cigar, and Joe, I'm going to say the one that you're smoking too. These cigars would be beautiful cigars in what we call the Texas heat. To where it's hot outside. I mean, it's still 95 degrees here. At 8 to 10 p.m. And this is very enjoyable. Whereas a more spicy, peppery, heavy-bodied, lots of viscosity on the weight, the weight of the smoke in the heat would have a tendency to wear you down.
right.
Not
I'm not
experiencing that
getting
at
it.
all.
I'm not getting any heat on this cigar.
No,
Just
this
Great.
is beautiful.
cool, refreshing, nice creamy leatheriness and vanilla.
And actually, the cuchillo parado, for example, the robusto, has a very intense sensation, very fresh sensation at the end of the cigar, the robusto. Uh, and the floral is because the terroir in Mexico for San Andres, it's very um, organic material in the soil,
Hmm.
a lot of organic material um, blend with a lot of minerals and a little bit volcanic soil. It is because it's very interesting. It take a very interesting flavors and sensations for the florals, for the herbs. Um, for example, you can find the tea notes, the tea leaf notes in the cigar, but the black tea notes. In the cuchillo parado, you can find a very earth and herbs flavors and sensations, and you can remember the green tea in the cuchillo parado. It's very fantastic uh, because the wrapper. Uh, it's very influent in the flavors and sensation at the end. And actually, the Tierra Blanca and Cuchillo Parado is different blend. Every cigar for us is different blend, one shape and one blend. We make just one blend in one vitola in one shape.
I love
It's
that.
other interesting thing for Casa 1910.
The way that you describe it reminds me of another friend and somebody that I consider a master blender, and he doesn't consider himself a master blender by any means, but he's one of my top favorite blenders, and I'm talking about Luciano Masella.
Oh yeah,
Luciano, and he talks about his blends in the very same way that you're talking about them, uh, and I hope that you take this as high accolades to what you're doing, because I have a great deal of respect for Luciano and everything that he's doing with his line of cigars, and I'm going to personally I'm going to be continue visiting the Casa 19 experience, because I am, and
you
this
need
is
to come, guys.
the first time I smoked your cigars. This is a blind for me. Didn't know what to expect, and I'm very pleased with everything that I'm coming out with this. This is good.
Great, great,
Very
very
smooth,
great.
very smooth.
Well, I don't have any more questions for you myself. Joe, have you got anything else?
Have you tried experimenting with any Indonesian tobacco?
Oh,
Uh, well, right now, no. Uh, I have some samplers in my warehouse, and I make up proper experiments. But right now, I don't have a proper project with that kind of tobaccos. Just I use the Sumatra seed,
hmm.
but we harvest in Mexico. But change the flavor, change the aroma
Oh yeah.
for the wrapper. It's not the same, but it's very similar. But I don't take out for use different tobaccos because I love to make a proper experiments. But I need to learn more about every leaf, every kind of type of tobacco to make a good blend. And it's because we release very slowly cigars because we are a very small brand. Uh, we have a very small production, but we need to make better cigars every time, better cigars. And if I have the chance to use a very special tobaccos, I use that kind of
There you
tobaccos.
go. And being so close to the coast, you said about an hour away. Is that influencing in any way the soil, the tobacco, in any way?
Not too much. It's more for the proper weather in the valley. The humidity, the soil, and the proper terroir, it's very, very interesting. And actually, we're growing tobaccos in farms with never growing tobaccos before. And it is because we take a lot of nutrients and a lot of flavors for the soil properly. And actually, we leave to rest the soil for 2 years at minimum before after 2 years of growing tobacco in the same area because we need to give nutrients for the
Yep.
soil. We need to give a proper resting for the soil to make good tobaccos in the future because it's a very long business. We need to keep a very great soil for us. It's very important for us.
Yeah,
Uh,
and the soil there in Veracruz, was it just like easy breezy? Like, yeah, this soil is good to go, or was it some work?
did
Sorry
you?
again.
The soil in Veracruz, was it just like ready to go? Like, yeah, this is definitely like a sweet spot, or was it challenging?
No, actually, um, it's a perfect weather, perfect sun, perfect air conditions, perfect sunlight. It's perfect. All it's perfect. But the most difficult part is to find the correct soil because the water and the sunshine, it's very hard to find the correct farm to grow tobacco. That it's the issue for San Andres. But but we have a lot of earth, we have a lot of soil in Veracruz to grow in tobaccos, and it's very interesting. We have we have a lot of space to grow in tobaccos in
Are you
Veracruz.
guys the only cigar producer in Veracruz, or is there more? Is there more producers in Veracruz?
No, in Veracruz, we are a lot of tobacco producers, but the most bigger part for that producers is just raw material, not just cigars.
Okay.
Actually, we have in Veracruz a very huge factories, but just raw material.
Okay. And how big is your operation? If you could describe your operation a little bit.
Right now, for example, we're growing tobacco in 50 hectares for tobacco. Maybe we talk about 50 tons per year uh,
Okay.
for for harvesting tobacco. It's not too much. It's very small production,
Yeah.
but it's great for our production.
Okay.
The 50 hectares.
About yeah. Go ahead.
This is your tobacco that you're growing, or is this a where you're collaborating with another farm or another producer?
We work with a very special family. Actually, that family have it's very curious because that family the beginning for the family in the tobacco industry it's in the 1910 year.
Really?
Yeah, it's very old family to growing tobacco. A lot of generation to growing tobacco for the same family. That family have the proper factory and have the proper farms. And we find that family and we talk about the production for Casa 1910. And for example, that family has maybe has a 15 cigar rollers, and just 5 cigar rollers make our cigars. We have a very special spaces in the factory and the farms for our tobacco and our cigars. And it's very beautiful family. The chief of the family has 18 84 years old, and that chief going to the farm and check the tobaccos, check the production, check everything. It's an amazing family with a lot of experience in the tobacco industry in Mexico, and it's because we take the chance and we take the challenge for make Casa 1910. That family, it's everything for us. It's very important the the work together for make a Casa 1910.
And how did you find your rollers? Because the construction on this cigar is unbelievable.
Yes.
I have not had to do anything to this cigar. The foot smoke odor is so delicate, and like you described, just elegant. Just that nice soft cocoa and vanilla at the same time.
For my side, for example, we produce in three different countries cigars. The Revolutionary Edition in the factory in Veracruz, the Cabre Edition in Nicaragua, Esteli, and the Soldadera Edition we produce in Dominican Republic with Ostos Quesada. So Ostos has a very special cigar rollers, and it's an amazing way to produce. It's like a Swiss watch. You know, the total factory is
Mm-hmm.
very small,
Mm-hmm.
but everything it's in our place. Everything it's perfect for me, and it is because I go to the country, for example, Dominican Republic, and I visit a lot of factories to produce the Soldadera edition, and I check a lot of things. For example, the the extension for the factory, how many cigar rollers, the quality of the process, and it's because we produce with Tabacalera La Isla in Dominican Republic, with that family in Mexico, and the other factory in Nicaragua with R. Garcia from Segovia's Esteli, and it's very small, it's small factories, and very special focus in the quality, in the blend, for because for my side I need to give you a very good cigar, very good construction, but the principal thing for me is the flavor. You need to when you take other Teniente Angela, you need to smell and sense and taste the same cigar every time. It's because I need to produce with a very special factories, and it is because we produce in three different countries with three different very special factories.
So we got a question from the audience, and he sent it to me in a text message rather than posting it in the chat here. So, but he wants me to ask you about the food there in Veracruz, and the great weather that you have there in Veracruz to smoke. And he's asking specifically about the Restaurante Cachorrito. Um, and he mentioned that pulpo is amazing. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. I mean, I'm as Texan as you can possibly get when it comes to pronouncing, food from other countries. So, but he's asking about the food there in Veracruz, and I'm going to add to that, and how much of the food influence where you live, how much does that have an influence in your blendings?
Um, well, uh, my process for the blending, I don't think it's very influenced with the food.
Okay.
For my side, the principal thoughts it's clean blend, a very special cigar. And actually, I made the blends for a very small format. For example, a Mareva, it's 42 ring gauge for 129 millimeters for the length.
Mhm.
And I make the blend with that kind of shape, and I make different shapes. But the current expression for different shape, I take that blend, And when I make the proper tasting for that blend, I think about the expression for the pairing. For example, I make the proper tasting, and every time I think that cigar is very great with, for example, Teniente Angela. I love that cigar with an Irish beer or Irish whiskey. For example, a Guinness beer, a very special stout. I love with that cigar, the Teniente Angela, or for example, a Bushmill or Redbreast
Oh
whiskey. It's
yeah,
very great with make pairing. Of course, it's not exclusive pairing. It's a suggested pairing.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
For example,
when I was looking at your cigars in the shop that I bought this in, every box had like a little tag that said, this one is going to pair well with the rum. This one is going to pair well with the bourbon. Specifically, this one was going to pair well with a stout beer,
stout beer.
which I can totally see. But I wanted to, you know, in the honor of Dave, challenge myself with a port whiskey, and man, nailed it with the port whiskey.
I know. Yes, of course, it's a suggested pairing, and it's my principal influence: the pairing and the flavors and the aroma and the correct shape. It's the principal thoughts for the blending process. The food it's not very influencing my blends. Really not. Um, because it is not in my table when I make a blend.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I love the food of Veracruz because the food of Veracruz, for example, that people have a very special food. It's called, how do you say the? For example, it's very special names. Topotes. It's a very small fish who fry it, and we take a tortilla with the little fishes with the salsa. It's very great. Or for
Sounds
example,
delicious.
Yeah.
uh, it's like other kind of food. It's the caracoles. It's like a escargots from France, but a very special caracoles from Veracruz, and they make a cocktail with tomato juice, olive oil, and tomato, onions, and it's very great food. And a lot of seafood, of course, because it's very nearly to the coast.
Right.
But it's beautiful food in Veracruz.
Yeah, in an hour and a half in, I'm going into the final third. Everything seems to have like the burn has really slowed down here, and the foot smoke odor. I can still bring this right up to my nose. There's nothing harsh or offensive about it. It's just that nice, delicate, elegant, creamy, leathery, uh, vanilla over cocoa. I could put this right up to my nose, no problem, and just enjoy that foot smoke odor.
Right.
I finished mine. I took it down as far as I could without having a number, which once again I left my numbers inside the house there. So, but Manola, I want to thank you so much for your time. I hope you have a great experience at PCA. This
Thank you.
weekend. Anything and everything that we can do here with Leaf and Grain Society, to help promote and get the word out about your cigars and you, as an individual, as a blender, and everything that you're doing. We want to help you out in any way possible. So thank you for the honor of joining us on the show tonight. We have got great guests coming up in the next few weeks. Next week we have got a very well-known distributor of cigars. So we're taking a
Okay.
little bit of a turn and having a distributor of cigars on this show. I'm not going to mention them just yet because I want it to be a surprise. Uh, but we've got some great shows coming up, everybody. If you have not tried Casa 1910, I implore upon you to get out and try it. find it at your local brick and mortar. If they don't have it, talk to them and convince them to bring in these great cigars.
Great.
Um, I'm
I
gonna
have one more thing for on
please,
site.
please.
Um, right now, we have a very special opportunity in the cigar trophy for cigar journal. So I have an invitation for you. You can go to cigartrophy.com
Uh huh.
to vote. We are nominated to the best cigar for other countries for Cuchillo Parado. And so if you can go to cigartrophy.com and put your vote in the question number 10, actually it's the question number 10. It's a cigar for other best cigar for other countries. We have the Cuchillo Parado for Casa 1910. Please vote for 1910. We love to take that kind of trophy to the family, to Veracruz, to the cigar rollers, to the farmers, and we love to go to that kind of prize and to go to the factory and to show the effort win a very special trophy. So it's my invitation for you to smoke a cigar for Casa 1910 and please voting for the best cigar for other countries to Cuchillo Parado.
I'll,
And
I'll,
here,
I'll,
Yes.
I'll tell you what. This is easily moved to one of my top 5 cigars, the
I
Antelope.
I would have to say that this cigar is right up there, and like Joe, I have smoked thousands of cigars just in the past few years. Thousands of different cigars, and this is one that I am definitely going to recommend everybody. Yes, let me put that link up.
thank you
Um,
so much.
it is cigar trophy.
Cigar trophy.
So go out to cigartrophy.com and other countries. So and if you haven't been out there, go out there, check it out. Other countries. It is question number 10 because I have seen it and I've got a couple of different accounts that I can go out and vote with. So I am definitely going to go out and vote for this one because this is definitely worthy of that.
Thank you
Um,
so much.
Pairs excellent with rain.
yes. Wait,
Great.
wait, which I mean, you bring out a good point there, Joe. As we close this up, that's something to consider, the weather, because when you're dealing with rain and humidity, you've got to think about how that's going to affect the cigar while you're smoking it, because the cigar is
Easy
very
breezy.
very
Easy breezy.
porous. It's going to soak up that humidity. I did not have to relight my cigar once. Didn't have to touch it up. Great burn all the way through. That speaks to the
Look at that.
quality that you've got here.
Look at
I'm glad to hear you.
Um, so yes, please, everybody go out and vote. Go out, get your brick and mortar to bring these guys in, to bring in Casa 1910. Gentlemen, please stay on as we close the show. Um, but until next time, explore the pairings because there's something for everyone. Thank you and have a great night.
You too.